This scene has broken not just every parent, but everyone else that's watched Bluey, but it requires some context to see why. Bluey does something that most people will fall victim to for pretty much all of their life.
Am I better at the monkey bars than bingo?
Well, you are 2 years older than her, Bluey.
Am I better than judo?
You're about the same as judo.
I'm not. Judo can't do skip bar or backwards one bar.
I'd like to think everyone watching this video has done this. Some of you have probably did this week. We look around at our peers and we compare. As an aside, video games can be pretty cool because many of them have visuals such as a progress bar that shows you a clear start to end. But life isn't like that. More importantly, we don't have the same start or the same finish line. The amount of time it takes for me to go up one experience point may not be the same as you. I may not have access to the same activities to level up that you may have. Also, we could be playing 2 different games. Yet none of this matters because we compare ourselves anyway. Chili would tell Bluey one pretty good answer for questions like this, but for it to make sense, she'd need to speak about the time that she was just like Bluey. A time when she was a new mother, watching Bluey's every roll, scoot, and step.
You learned to roll over really early. Brandon, she rolled over! She rolled over! She's not meant to do that for ages.
Aw, that's my girl! Ah!
Chili would be super excited that Bluey is not only progressing, but doing so at a faster rate. How much of this is because she's proud of Bluey's progress, and how much of this is because she has an ideal way that motherhood is supposed to go, despite not being a mother for that long, is going to be very apparent soon. Pun not intended. Side note, Bandit goes through the ringer in this episode, and it's both funny and hauntingly realistic. So I've been told. It's a nice way to balance out the emotional journey Chili is going to go through in this episode.
Were you proud of me for rolling over so soon?
Yes, a little too proud.
Oh, I've never heard of a baby rolling over that early.
I know.
She's just special.
Believe it or not, I don't think Chili being too proud was inherently a bad thing, at least for now. Sure, we can think of all the parents who've gassed up their child so much that there's a clear disconnect between reality and their world, but that's not Chili. For someone who has no experience in this, any good experience should be celebrated, and in this instance, if she's reading about expected behaviors for a baby and something happens earlier, statistically, that could be considered special. Now, as mentioned before in my judo video, there is a fine line between instilling confidence and fostering arrogance, but again, that's not Chili. Speaking of judo though,
It is very early to roll over.
Oh, you're so clever, Bluey.
Oh, she's sitting! She's sitting!
Oh goodness, that's very early to be sitting.
Oh, well, you know, it's not a race.
But it was a race. A baby race!
through no fault of her own, by advancing farther than Bluey, who according to the book Chili was reading was already ahead of the curve, she indirectly starts a rivalry. That shouldn't happen. There's plenty of reasons parents may compete with their children, and some of those reasons are quite nasty and disappointing, to put it nicely. But there are some more understandable reasons, one of which is what Chili will go through. Again, how do you know when you're good enough when you're doing something for the first time? Chili was determined not just to catch up to Judo's mother, Wendy, in terms of progress with their respective children, but outpace her. This is the exact behavior that she discouraged in Bluey just moments earlier, and is a big reason why. She tried her best to push Bluey to sit up, and we stray further from it being for Bluey's benefit and more for Chili's ego. It's clear that Bluey needs more time, and she'd even take a page out of your average tech bro and force a certain vision despite it not being all ready yet by garnering the praise of Bluey sitting up when she's clearly not ready yet. And to top it off, Judo was crawling now, so from Chili's perspective, she still feels like she's behind.
Come on, Bluey. Crawl to mama. You can do it. You can do it.
Why was I rolling?
I don't know, kid. You didn't come with instructions.
That's the important thing here. For many reasons beyond parenthood, there really isn't a set guide of how to do it. In fact, with parenthood, there's going to be debates forever on how to do every part of it. Add on top of that every child is different and what works for one may not work for the other. How could you make a guidebook for a moving starting point and a moving destination with an infinite amount of factors both in and out of control? On the bright side, Bluey is progressing the way that she is, and is quite admirable. Honestly, with that speed and accuracy, I think Bluey's rolling is more impressive than Judo's crawling, but hey, I'm not a parent. Chili would go to the doctors and be told that there's nothing wrong. Bluey is progressing as normal. Some babies just roll before they crawl. Unfortunately, Chili doesn't see it that way. She stays up reading book after book, trying every strategy to get Bluey to crawl.
It's fun to crawl. Oh, how good is crawling? It's better than rolling.
My knees!
Hitting your knee is a different type of pain. It also goes to show you how great Bandit and Chili's designs are that I found the dog characters crawling to look uncanny. Like, they're dogs. Shouldn't this look closer to how they would be? But I guess it's partially because they're crawling on their hands and knees, whereas dogs walk on all four paws. Basically, what I'm saying is +1 for anthros having better knees, but -1 for knees hurting so much when you whack something against it. Bluey would go from rolling to scooting across the kiwi carpet, and there's a few things I want to note here. For one, Bandit celebrates all progress naturally as it comes, such as when Bluey scoots across the carpet, while Chili is the one stressing about progress not being made so fast to her standards. It's like two sides of the same coin. You could be drawing or working on a story or working out, making new friends, and because you have access to seeing how everyone else at least portrays themselves online, you feel like you should be further along, and that can lead down a dark path mentally. Even though Bluey is quite fast, scooting faster than Judo seemed to be, crawling, because Judo has now progressed from crawling to climbing onto things, Chili felt like she had to work even harder just to catch up.
Did she crawl?
Yes,
Hooray!
backwards. Doctor said there was nothing to worry about.
Look, I'm sure we all can agree that sometimes doctors can be wrong. This doesn't appear to be one of those times. In fact, you know what's so dark about this episode? What if Bluey actually walked before Judo? What if Chili actually beat Wendy in the baby race? Yes, Chili would be happy, but she would have reinforced this way of thinking. She would have instilled this kind of parenting into Bluey. I don't think that we would get the Bluey that we know and admire with that kind of parenting. In fact, if my speculation based off of my last Bluey video is correct, you would get a child closer to how Judo was. She'd consult Bandit's mother, and this scene is quite powerful too, despite it being quick. Her mother-in-law would use some questionable tactics, and they'd bail out of there pretty quickly. Now, to those who don't know, Nana would have 3 children, one of whom obviously Chili married, so her parenting skills couldn't have been all that bad, but Chili would find her way of parenting to be outdated, similar to how Nana is described on Bluey.tv apparently. This shows us one person's good can be another person's unacceptable. It shows us that the line between good enough and not good enough is subjective. There's plenty of ways to get rich or get shredded or get popular or make friends or achieve any other type of goal, but who is to say that all of those ways are ideal or even something that you would be comfortable with? Despite all the hours put in, despite the fact that the doctor said everything was fine, despite reading every book she can find, despite trying out all the strategies that she can emulate, and despite no one putting this pressure on her, Judo would walk before Bluey. And Chili would take that personally.
Are you upset with me that I lost the baby race?
No, sweetie. Look, we were all learning to do things for the first time. I just felt like I was doing everything wrong.
I do appreciate that this episode makes it clear that this really isn't about Bluey or Judo or debatably Judo's mother, but about Chili having one way of how motherhood is supposed to go and being disappointed with something that she was learning for the first time. Again, Bandit has no qualms with Bluey's progress and doesn't see Bluey or Chili as a failure. I mean, if we want to get real here, many children start walking much later than when Bluey did. In fact, many children don't even get the opportunity to walk. I'm just saying, we compare up a lot, but there's another direction to go. Chili would be so disappointed in herself that she wouldn't go to the mother's group. Fortunately, she would get one of the final pieces to this puzzle from a surprising source, Coco's mother, Bella.
Are these all your children?
Yep,
I thought Coco was your first. You must have learned a thing or two.
I have. And there's something you need to know.
What?
You're doing great.
For the amount of effort that Chili put in, she went above and beyond with Bluey. But many times it's hard to know that when you're stuck in a bubble of judgment that you put yourself in. Sometimes all it takes is for someone else to say, "You've been doing great." And I've seen plenty of people like Chili, outside of parenting, treat themselves harshly and beat themselves up for not being at this arbitrary progress line. What I typically tell my friends who are like this today is that there's a lot of things that are outside of your control, but there's a lot of things inside your control. Simple things like showing up, doing what you can, not beating yourself up, that gets you a lot farther than people would like to make it seem. Let's not pretend that everyone is showing up, doing what they can, and not beating themselves up in parenting, for example. Sometimes in life, you have to sit up before you roll before you scoot before you crawl backwards, and crawl backwards before you walk. I don't know you personally, but I'm sure you're doing just fine. And even if there is a lot of things you'd like to improve on, you have to understand that there's always going to be a mountain to climb, so to speak. So do me a favor and look down the mountain from time to time. Look at how far you've gotten and understand that some people would kill to be there, and that some people at the spot you're at right now stepped off the mountain, to put it nicely. Whether it be finances, fitness, art, or even a YouTube channel. And I'll leave you with this, because I've definitely gotten way too motivational here, but one of my frameworks when I think about stuff like this is quite simple. If you've ever spoken to me and wonder how I don't have that thing that many YouTubers have when it comes to being like envious or jealous or anxious of my progress here compared to other YouTubers, it's pretty easy to explain. Typically, I look at what they have and what they did to get there, and more often than not, it's not something that I would have wanted to do. Some people post daily. Some people focus on just one show. Some people primarily make negative reviews. Some people speak about shows that I'm not interested in. And in understanding that, I believe I'm not entitled to the same outputs if I'm not willing to put in the same inputs. As Miles said, I'm doing my own thing. I guess you could say this channel is my baby, and it's running its own race.
From then on, I decided to run my own race. Whoa,
Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well done, Judo, you clever girl.
It was lovely to see Chili give praise to Judo and confirm that this was never about Judo, but lots of internalization that was unwarranted. Chili allowed Bluey to progress at her own rate, and given how much she loves Bluey now, it's truly the best for both of them. It's a lot less pressure and stress taken off when you simply do what you can, and I'm sure Bluey would later appreciate having a parent that loved them as is and not what they felt they had to be. And this episode had such a great ending too.
So, did Blue ever learn to walk?
Yes, honey.
Why did I decide to walk in the kitchen?
I don't know, sweetie.
Maybe you just saw something you wanted.
What a fantastic episode that probably has so many people crying from it, probably off this review alone. Which, I'm sorry. Chili is a fantastic character, fantastic mother, and in my journey of Bluey, I'm surprised how many emotional episodes are jam-packed into each season. This one seemed to be a favorite of many, and I definitely wasn't disappointed in how it went. In fact, I watched this episode here for my previous video on Judo because I wanted to learn more about her after her Butterflies appearance. And if you want to see how this episode builds into her journey in the show so far, you can check out my video on Judo right here.